Here we go. So, this is going to be another listening to people talk stream. Because I forgot to listen to the rest of the people in Blue Mountain. So let's go there. So on this first-person playthrough, I'm trying to do everything, and one of those things is listen to all the blue dialogue for all the NPCs. And I believe I only listened to Eleanor when I did her missions. I didn't actually listen to any of the other NPCs in this zone, I don't think. So we're gonna go do that. I got so caught up in finishing the story and then, going into Egypt that I forgot to come back and do this. I think I need to turn the volume up for these two. Their voices are always really low.
Behind this very expensive official government suit, I'm just a normal gal. Hopes, dreams, ambitions, faith in my superiors and my government. I had that before the fog, before I saw the filth, before I realized why they sent us here in the first place. All lies. Big, fat, stinky lies. You'd think a government employee would be trusted with the truth. But no. I guess it doesn't matter that you've dedicated your life to public service, that you risk your health and sanity in service of your nation. I have served. I have sacrificed. I have given so much, and all I wanted in return is to be trusted. Turns out our government is more likely to share their secrets with the private sector, with the Arachi group, than their own. What the hell does that say about our leaders? About our nation? About the future? I'll tell you this. I don't trust Arachi further than I can see through my visor. And with the amount of condensation and dirt buildup I'm dealing with, that's not far. Not far at all. My team and I... Well, not my team per se, more like Ernesto's team. Frank was his second in command. He's such a sycophant. Was a sycophant. I held up the rear, so to speak. Not the flashiest role, but an important member of our 3-man and a woman team. Anyway, my team was sent here to work with the Arachi to investigate the filth. A couple of days later, the fog rolls in. This massive wall moving faster than storm clouds. Thank God we had our suits. Made us immune to the airborne agents. Ernesto, the idiot, bless his soul, took his mask off. His eyes just glazed over. His tongue flopped out and he started walking. We couldn't stop him. He just kept walking right down to the ocean. Into the water. Under the water. Next day, he came back up. It wasn't pretty. But at least we'd survived the worst. Help would come. It was just a question of time. We were government employees. Leave no man behind, right? One touch. That's all it took. It seeped right through. The guys tried to fight it, but it took just seconds before they were tainted, transformed. I ran as fast as I could, as far as I could. It's spreading. I've seen it on trees, on vegetation, on animals. There was this raccoon the other day. It had glowing eyes, worms protruding from its ears, black ooze leaking through the fur. It left wet paw prints on the ground, and right away the grass and ground were infected. Strangest thing of all, it was like I could see straight through it. And I could see stars. Dying stars. I know, it doesn't make sense. Oh, I need some sleep. It's not easy in this suit, but I am never taking it off.
Someone needs to make a picture of that raccoon.
I really believe you guys are our only hope. We have a name for you. Did you know that? Back at the CDC. The Bees. That's what we call you. Don't know why. And we keep records. There's a whole floor related to the Bees. I don't know what's there. I don't have clearance, but I can see now why we'd need a whole floor. If I ever get back home, that's what I want to work on. I want to pick you guys apart. Not literally, of course. I'm not talking autopsies or anything like that. And anyway, do you guys even die? I hear you're even immune to that. Boy, I'd love to be a bee right now and buzz away.
That raccoon bit, man. That was crazy. So NPCs here, and there's not really a lot of NPCs in Blue Mountain, actually.
Stop. Karen Olsen, Department of Homeland Security. This island has been placed under a state of emergency by presidential proclamation, and what this means is that I am in de facto control here. Me. I may not look the part, but I'm a highly experienced agent of the Office of National Paranormal Security Management and Intelligence, OMSMI, with almost 3 years in the field. I've been on the front lines of at least 2 potentially severe incidents, including that whole thing with the Kraken. I'm sure you've heard of it. It was pretty big.
I think I actually did listen to her when I did these missions, but I'll listen to him again, just for the... so it's all on one stream.
Of course, I work very closely with the armed forces, but I don't get engaged in any kind of military activity myself. I'm more of a coordinator, enabler, if you will. A pure management role, but on the ground, you know? Right here with the men, making sure our response is appropriate and immediate. I'm exactly what this mission needs. Someone trained in the more esoteric, theoretical aspects of occult warfare. Someone who can advise the grunts, so to speak, and ensure that our homeland is protected. I'm sorry, this area falls under the jurisdiction of the Department of Homeland Security. I'd suggest finding another place to play. Somewhere with more bees. Wait, are you thinking about signing up for active duty? I'd call that a smart career move, seeing as how you're operating heavy artillery on American soil without the appropriate authorization. The armed forces could use a soldier like yourself, with the proper training, of course. All of you got potential, but the edges are rough, and your powers aren't being channeled in a very productive or legal manner. Frankly, you're a ticking bomb, a walking threat to the security of the United States of America. Lucky for you, we've got enough on our plate to deal with right now, but when the crisis has been averted, and it will be averted, I'd recommend for your own sake to either be wearing the right uniform or to cause chaos on another continent entirely. Are we clear? A paranormal attack on American soil. Ab-terrorism. That's what we're dealing with here. Your textbook Lovecraftian invasion from the sea by mutated humans with resurrective capabilities. There are certain similarities to the whole Hamelin affair, though we haven't been able to detect any residues of magic pipes. We have received training in this exact scenario. Homeland Security is working closely with the armed forces to prevent any such incident from spreading past the initial stages. This is no different from what occurred off Cape Blanco last summer. Sure, it's a slightly bigger scale. We had the Kraken contained within 24 hours of deployment. But steps are being taken as we speak to contain and control. We don't have a lot of people on the inside, but on the outside, we've got the might of the American war machine ready to steamroll Solomon Island. We do a lot more than hassle travelers at airports. I hope you'll learn to appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I listened to those before. This guy didn't have any.
I'm down.
That guy didn't have any. Means we're going up here. There should be a few people here.
Hello there. Call me Old Joe. That's what everybody here calls me. On account of young Joe. I'm his brother. Did you know? Also, I'm loath to admit, because I'm a very old man. Nicknames know no mercy. These days, I guess you could call me a story keeper. I don't tell them anymore. Nobody wants to listen to an old man telling even older stories. The only thing that matters to the young ones is the present. And those who have been here a while, they prefer to look to the future, not to the past. So, I keep the stories, but I don't tell them anymore. Not unless someone comes and asks, or if they're outsiders and don't know not to encourage me. It's a sad thing when families can't settle their differences. And 40 years is a long time. That's how long we've been half a tribe. Even here, we're divided. Those of us who chose to stay in the camp, we've got our schemes and our plans. Frank and Joe with their schemes. A casino. Might as well be wearing headdresses and charging tourists for pictures. And Paul and Annika bringing big city folk out there into the forest to hunt exotic prey. They all believe the land belongs to us, that she's ours to exploit. Like it's our birthright to take advantage of the land. Like she owes us anything. I'm not saying we're the only ones at fault. Red. Now there's a man some would call pig-headed, and they wouldn't be wrong. So, he's a man of principles. And I can't say I'd have done differently if I were in his shoes, but he played his part in this. He was never one to forgive. But we all had to make tough choices. He made his, and I made mine. And who's to say what was right and wrong back then? At least we know the reason why we didn't talk. We feel it. It's harder for the young ones, those who weren't here back then, like Ami and Kyra. They must all think we're old and stubborn. And we're less of a family for it. That saddens me more than anything.
That was the most dialogue I've listened to with the least amount of information.
We go a long way back, our tribe in this land. For more than 1,000 years, these hills and forests are all we've known. We haven't left the island because we couldn't. If all of us left, there would be no one to guard it. The hills harbor a dark secret, but it was always our secret, and we were sworn to protect it, keep it, and shield the rest of the world from it. But the hills are treacherous. They whisper to the weak, draw them in. and the weak have dug too deep. The secret within is coming out. We are the people of the dawn, but the sun is setting. I fear for all that is good in this world. What saved us from the fog, saved our people from being turned into soulless things, was the very thing we'd neglected so long. Tradition, rituals, magic. What saved us was what our forefathers did to protect the whole island. And it took all this to make us see what we'd forgotten. We lost nobody. At least in the tribe. Of course, we lost everyone else. And it's not like we were isolated from the rest of the island. Those people were our friends and neighbors. And many here lost people. Good people they cared about and loved. I know Amy still hopes that her husband is alive out there. But he's probably dead. Let's hope he's dead. The alternative... it's much worse. I don't know if those things that came back from the sea have memories or feelings. I hope they're just empty shells used by the Grey Men to serve their needs, to spread their filth. If there is any humanity left in them, well, that's a new kind of hell that I don't even want to think about. Why others survived the fog, I couldn't tell you. Could be there's a purpose to it, could be just luck. But us, our tribe, we were protected. And that's not something we can ignore. We have a purpose now. We have a mission.
Alright, so that was Joe. We have the people inside here, and then we have the brothers.
Friend, I haven't got time to be shook up. Not when my wife and I are the only ones in the park who can shoot a can off a fence at 10 foot. I'm not even kidding. We held tryouts. Sure thing this is wicked strange. But it's just a real bad day in our new normality. A different kind of survivalism. Back in the day, I said to old Joe, I think I've seen something from the stories out there. He says, yup. I tell him, I thought they were just stories. And he gives me one of those looks from over his glasses. If I told you a story about land across the ocean from the island, would you believe that? I say, sure I would, I've seen it. Oh, he likes that, gets his big old grin on. He says, well, Paul, now you've seen the Wendigo, too. Well, we never really had any trouble with your type on the hunts. Maybe some get a little too keen about waving their fancy swords around instead of a good rifle. I'd tell them, these creatures can take a high-caliber bullet on the skull like you'd slugged a rock at them. So are you positive you want to get up close? There was one guy, though, wanted to blood himself from a Wendigo. That's what he said, and I looked at Annika thinking, this is not gonna fly. She told him, no way, no how. Maybe he didn't know the legends like we did, but you don't want to be getting Wendigo in you. He kicked off over that, so we wheeled the truck around, took him back to the airport so fast he hardly had time to pack his little photocopied pamphlets. Like you see on television, what are they called, the morning light? Guess those Moonies are soft in the head after all.
Huh, morning light.
I'm not much of a deep thinker. Working in the outdoors, it pays to be more concerned with what's happening than the why. But when the world went all to hell, sure I had to do some considering. Perhaps the reason we ran across those beasts when we did was a sign. It seems animals are the first to know when there's a big change coming. And perhaps I should have known it then. I just sensed it. Like at the end of fall when you know a hard freeze is coming on overnight. And there's always been stories. Not just old Joe's, the townies bring their own too. And there's a Kingsmouth explanation for all the good and bad in the world. Mostly the bad. Hell, I've told college kids a horror story or two about the old trapper cabin to keep them out of it. When the fog rolls back, what if this is the way the world's gonna be from now on?
What if, indeed?
When we just did adventure tours, I got a lot of bright-eyed questions about spirits, ancestors, feeling the power of the earth and such. I'm Wabanaki Confederacy. I must be into that stuff, right? I never thought of it as a mystical thing, a tribal thing, to treat the land with respect. We learned from our elders. You can't find much older out here than the land. That's the starry-eyed version. The one down here in the grit is that the land will kill you and keep on going like a logging truck, so you respect it and try to find peace with that idea. Understand that it's so much bigger than all of us and has its own big plan. Yes, this world has slipped out of balance. And yes, we have words for that with a whole bunch of vowel sounds. But you and I have been walking on a giant all these years. It just shrugged its shoulders. Before the storm, Paul and I were talking expansion. I'd talk, he'd agree. On the mainland, maybe up in the Appalachians. Been tracking sightings of unidentified creatures there since we got started. You cross off half of them as overactive imagination, and we're still talking dozens. We could move up from 1 hunt a month to 2 a week. Damn, but those New Yorkers can't get enough trophies. Decorating their boardrooms or something. Sightings were on the up and up here too. Not just the Sasquatch and the Wendigo. There's something out there. Different to the rest. I hear its call some nights. It's a wrong sound. Not an animal call, but something that's making a noise like it thinks an animal should. Doesn't even carry on the air right. If it's marking out its territory, that's the best of a bad situation. Means it's not coming down here. Before the storm, Paul and I were talking expansion. I'd talk...
Crap, click the wrong one.
On the mainland, maybe up in the Appalachians. Been tracking sightings of unidentified creatures there since we got started. If there's still a tribe here, I'd call it a dysfunctional one. I mostly keep out of Wabanaki business. They can't get along with each other, let alone cope in the real world. And half the townies still lock up their mouthwash when they see one of us coming. Then there's the matter of our sacred land. Sometimes they can't trip over themselves fast enough to sell it off by the yard. Others, they dig in their heels even when psychoil suits are here sweating money. Me, I think they like the fantasy that there's good soil to protect and sour soil to make the evil eye at. It doesn't work that way. People gave Blue Ridge a bad name, not ancient curses. No one disturbed the burial grounds, and yet there they are, up and walking anyway. It can take days for these boys to agree on the communal food order. If they were the defenders of this island, I'd feel bad for the island.
Oh, I can upgrade something. Let's see. Looks like the brothers share a dialogue, or it's just Frank's dialogue. Either way, at least it's just one. Well, it's kind of weird trying to get over here to talk to him.
Ain't this all a fucking boot in the ass? I had plans that were gonna get us somewhere. Oh, how's your whale watching operation going, brother? Seeing any no whales got itself lost and showed up around here in 20-odd years now, huh? Ain't this all a fucking boot in the ass? I think you caught the brothers Mahando here at a good time. Used to be we were busting rocks at the quarry all day, knocking back cheap cans all night. You been saving that one up, huh, genius? You go ahead and enjoy it. Because we ain't going back to that life. Not after what we heard from the mountain. Oh yeah, that old thing's been yabbering away for longer than Brother has. Could never figure out what it was saying, and it was better that way, because when its voice became so damn clear, it got no love for our people, and that ain't half of it. No, that ain't it. She said she heard it like the cracking of ice on a river that's frozen when it knows it's got you. With Pop's deadbeat brother still hanging around her like a fart stuck in a cushion. She used to come by every summer with a damn fool idea to smooth things out with all of us. Girl sure took some shouting down. She always did. Who does she think she is? Telling us to be strong as a family, strong as a people, all while she's siding with him? Over our own flesh and blood? Her own brothers? Damn! She said we better stand together, or something was gonna come wash us all away. I think you caught the brothers Mahando here at a good time. Used to be hands all night.
I think that's everyone in Blue Mountain. I'm gonna double check and make sure there's no dialogue at the Orochi camp, but I don't think there is. And then maybe I'll go listen to Eleanor again, just so I have all the audio on the one stream. It's make it easier to look back up later if I want to. But I'm pretty sure the computer in here with missions does not have a dialogue option. I'm just not 100% on it. Yeah, it doesn't. Okay, so talk to this NPC, talk to these ones, and these ones, and this one, and this one. This one doesn't have any. So it's just Eleanor. So we'll redo Eleanor's.
Nice to finally have some visitors. I'm sure my reputation precedes me, though only the trick-or-treaters make it past a private property sign these days. Ever since that Killian woman got run out of town, I've been the honorary island witch. A foul-tempered old widow who shut herself up in a haunted house for decades. I've always trusted my cats as better judges of character, but maybe they got me on the temper. Old? Now that I'll argue. These are Saks Fifth Avenue. But there's that temper again. My friends always told me to come back to Long Island or to Manhattan. They still do, every now and again. I was a city girl once, but I'd grown to dig this weird little rock. I couldn't leave it. I couldn't leave Ed. And I'd be afraid to see what had happened to the city since. You ever think time goes so slowly, but then you look outside and it's been rushing past like out the window of an airplane? This house, well, you knew just to look at it that it was haunted, didn't you? A few coats of paint away from its best days, just like its owner. But it was never beautiful. Unlike its owner. I used to blame the Indians. Used to think they'd put their evil eye on the place to take our lives. And it did take our lives. Just dead quickly, and on its own sweet time with me. DeVore was the name of the man who built it. The Blue Ridge Mine as well. The story goes the Indians cursed him for his troubles, whatever he did or didn't do to rile him up, and he lost everything. He ended up dangling for the murder of his child bride. As I was saying, I used to blame the Indians too. I called them vengeful folk who never forgave some grievance a generation old. When you look for a grudge, you find one. Oh, they were caught up in things, all right. But this house was just built bad. You picked the wrong part of the island for people watching, and the wrong season, too. I remember the old summers with those Matahando kids splashing in the river, the morning mist boiling off the marsh. Now you won't be spotting anything through this pea souper. I don't get out to see people much. I don't really get out further than the porch at all, just sitting with a book and the whippoorwills. Henry Hawthorne would come out and try to save my soul every few months, and every time I tell him it's much too late for that. He likes to sketch the house. Says he's real big on late period architecture or something. And Helen Bannerman, or worse luck, her gormless deputy, are duty-bound to check I haven't died in my sleep and stunk the place up. She calls me Ellie, and I tell her, now you look here. I remember when you were still learning to walk. Terrible shame what happened to her father. Gutted fish and tragedies, that's Kingsmouth, much as I ever made of it. Survived the storm? Well, hell, I'm a tough old bird, you ask anyone in town. I survived it the same way I always do, battening down the hatches and just sitting it out. I do recall the cats taking a real hating to this one. Hissing and spitting, tails up like chimney brushes, but they're ornery creatures. Most of them were yelling before their mom even finished biting through the cord. This fog is outstaying its welcome, though. They must have put a real dampener on the town Halloween. Haven't had a single knock at the door until you showed up. Not that I'm complaining, but I do resign myself to the visits this time of year. A couple of times I thought I spied some folks out in the gardens, but Ed said no, it was nothing. Wait for it to blow over, he said, same as that big Halloween storm in '91.
Alright, so that's all the NPC dialogue in Blue Mountain. So... off to Scorched Desert it is. I'm gonna lower my volume a little first. Maybe I'll do the dialogue in Scorched Desert. To make a dialogue stream out of it. So I'm pretty sure all the NPCs, I mean I still have a lot of missions to do in the zone, but I think all the NPCs are accessible, so there's no reason I shouldn't be able to talk to all of them.
I was not a child soldier, sleeping beside a rifle instead of a doll. It is only in recent years that the atomists have become an open threat. After that, we all had to learn to shoot very quickly. I had a gift for it, and a voice that was heard, so here I am. In my life, we have made more travels than most can recall. I everyone. I grew into a woman across the western desert, and its dunes and oasis are my home. We go into the cities only when we must, in places where the old religions are weak. So are the Atomist snakes. is good, and my heart feels pride to see a new Egypt rising in these towers and minarets. But cities are no place for the Maria. Too closed in, how do you say, claustrophobic. I will always be a daughter of the desert, where the sand meets the sky, and our past meets our future. In the old stories, the Maria descended on the enemy and his deceased cult like a violent storm. We were thousands, professional soldiers and paupers standing shoulder to shoulder. The New Kingdom had never seen such a movement. This was so long ago, and the blood we had spilled dried in the sand and carried away. Then the Maria were 1,000 men, then hundreds, then 100. Now here we are, outnumbered by the Atonists. But unlike those dogs, we cannot force the people to believe in our struggle. Stripping them of their will would go against all we hold valuable, against the name of the Maria. If this trouble was to spread as far inland as the Nile, then I think we would have no shortage of volunteers. By then it would be too late. Before your people had writing, this land kept temples standing to this day. Before you could farm, this land had raised vast armies. When your people trembled at the sight of the moon or fire, this land bowed before beast-headed gods. I took in all these stories with my mother's milk. They weigh heavy, heavy as stone, as if the Sphinx had pressed me under its forepaw. The Maria took up the burden of memory so Egypt can forget. When walls are uncovered in the deep sands, they should never know what those walls guarded against. We erase the enemy's one true name as punishment for the crimes of the Atonists. If we succeed here, Aten can be forgotten again. The Nameless One and his nameless city deserves no place in my Egypt's history. You are a stranger behind the veil of Egypt, but I know about the world you come from. The three great orders of red, green, and blue. The wars and treacheries. Stories carry well on the wind. And with drink and the heat, Oxford University men are very talkative. Your people do not have a good reputation here, not since the Romans. The trade princes of Cairo, they say you are common tomb robbers. They say this after they have taken your money and sold off our history. When the earth opened up to bring you here, though, I suspected it was a good omen. The honeybees had left Almoriah for many months. Now they have come back. I hope their timing is not flawed.
Interesting. Alright, so that was that NPC. Let's go to camp over here.
High five!
Ah, Nasir. My friend! My friend!
They call me Nasser, the boom boom man. They call me this because I make things go boom, yes? I train with the Americans, explosives experts, special forces. They teach me everything about bombs, about C4, about how to blow shit up. How to blow shit up in other dimensions. They were special forces. I stay with them for 2 years, learning all the secrets, all the tricks. Before the desert swallowed them. Now I am Special Forces. Maria Special Forces. And I make things go boom boom. We are Maria, the young warriors. But despite our name, we are not so young. We have been here for many, many, many generations. Our tribe has made an ancient promise to our ancestors, the Sentinels, and it is our duty, our destiny, to protect this valley. From the time of the Black Pharaoh, we have kept his spirit contained. Now he whispers, now he dreams, and his armies are rising once more. This is the time we have been waiting for, and we must keep our promises, or die trying. Beyond those mountains is the place where the Black Pharaoh built his city. It has been concealed and protected since his body was entombed in his pyramid. Now he rises again, and this time into a different world. He can do great damage, him and his dark god. It is not a good time for the forces of darkness to grow stronger. So we cannot let this happen. I cannot let this happen. For ancestors in the past, for ancestors in the future. This world is old, older than the Maria, older than pharaohs and gods, older than the mountains, older than the sky even. There is magic always in the world. People can use this magic for good and for evil. You are of magic. Never forget this. And it's important to use this gift for good. People who do not understand this, they are the reason why we fight.
The seer. Alright, so I think that's the only NPC in this area. So, let's see, there's like 2 here, there's 1 here, there's 1 here, there's 1 up here, 1 there, and I think that's it. We'll go to the center area. Yeah, Zahara and Tanis.
I run this cafe, the Giza. Yes, I know the name. But even here, in the middle of nowhere, we have tourists. And tourists will always flock to the familiar. I know something about marketing, you see, from my previous life. A life I was forced to abandon. But I won't bother you with such things. Have enough worries out there already. Just know that if you need anything, I wish to be of assistance. I can't do much. I can make good cakes and tea, and I can make pretty clothes. Oh, this dress, I made it. If you need something repaired... What am I saying? I'm sure you have many clothes already. I was not born in Almeria, but it is my home now. I love it. Not for all the people. There have always been bad people here. Those who have worshipped older gods. But for the good people, and there are plenty of them. Sadly, many have vanished. The cultists, those who worship Aten, they are doing evil things. Making slaves of our people, killing them. Now, we are trapped here, and we do not know who to trust. There are enemies on every corner, behind every door, and they look and talk just like us. I cannot even trust my neighbors and customers. Of course, I trust my friends still, because otherwise, what else is there? But even friends can be turned. This is a dark time for our town. I pray for brighter days. Almeria has never been innocent. I have seen evil here, long before the skies and ground opened up, long before the earthquakes and the thunder. From what I have heard and read, the town was home to Artanists since thousands of years. This was their exile and refuge, where they continued to worship the old god and the Black Pharaoh. For those who live here, they have chosen to ignore it. No one would accuse their neighbors of being sorcerers and heretics, but behind closed doors, the ancient rituals continued. Now it is in the open. They are no longer afraid. Outside, there is great evil. But inside the town walls, there is even greater evil. No one will speak his name. But I know who leads them, the Atanis, the cultists. I know who is instrumental in making mindless slaves of our friends and neighbors. His name is Abdel Daoud. I have always believed there is a veil over the world, hiding the truth about everything. Now the veil is lifted, it all seems so normal. Does that make sense? True. There are demons walking among us. The souls of the dead have risen. Our tortured ancestors are amassing on our town. And yet, it feels almost expected. Maybe we have become, how do you say, immune. Immune to it all. From the films and computer games and cartoons. We have seen it all already, and reality is no different from the screen. Only more personal. Or maybe I have always lived in the shadow of pain and death. And this is no different. Only now, the demons are not disguised as humans.
Actually, the way she trills her words.
If you had been in this life more than 5 minutes, you would know not to ask me personal questions. You would also know not to trust a fucking word I say. Look around. Who do you think I am? What do you think I do? I am your enemy. But I will give you a bit of advice. And you can decide for yourself whether you want to heed that advice. Or stay stupid. Watch your back. You have bigger problems than me and my compatriots.
Well, that was a short one. Let's go walk to Khalid. For some reason, this Weldon still isn't unlocked for me. I don't know why. Ouch.
Special assignment received. Initializing.
Now it gives me the well. Interesting.
You wish to know more about me? It's been so long that I can barely remember my own story. I have wandered the deserts of this land and others for many thousands of years. Am I immortal? Truly, I do not know. I haven't had the courage to test the hypothesis. Of course, the fact that I still stand, albeit with some difficulties, points to yes. Some have written of me, and some of what is written might even be correct. I wouldn't know, I haven't checked. All you need to know is that I'm still here because there's still evil here. And until evil has been vanquished, I do not intend to give up neither life nor breath. I am, as you may have surmised, a stubborn old bastard. I've witnessed Egypt change from an empire of untold power and fabulous riches into a nation descending into chaos. But through it all, it is Egypt's people that have brought this land back from the brink, from succumbing to greater evil, and from losing its way. Even here, it is only through the resistance of those who oppose the cult of Aten that there's still time to save Egypt and the world. This was my first home, and it shall be my last, God willing. Perhaps I was stupid to believe that the good in this valley had conquered the evil, that the cult of Aten would not rise again, and that the sentinels inside the city of the sun god could sleep in peace. It is a blessed thing that the Maria were not so trusting. They did not lay down their arms, or stop teaching their children the tenets that we wrote down so long ago. And when this calamity befell Egypt once again, they were already here, ready and waiting. Without them, it would have already been over. Evil would have won, and the Aten itself might well have risen. The Maria bought us all time, though the tides of battle shift even now. The city of the sun god is opened up, and the sentinels within are our last defense against the rebirth of the Black Pharaoh and the dawn of the sun god. I've grown weary of the world. I believe I have seen all things, both good and evil. And while I still have faith in good, in the face of this rising evil, I can no longer be the one to stand up and do battle. This is not the first time these armies have been raised up, on both sides, but it may well be the last. There is a change in the air. This time it's different. My heart goes out to you, caught up in these end of days. But I will have to sit this one out and trust that I have already played my part. I was a member of the first of the secret societies, but our ties were severed long ago. The organizations you people are a part of are pale shadows of that first cabal, and your ethics questionable. Your masters are no longer working to protect humankind from the evils of this world, but rather to protect their dark secrets from humankind. To be more than in the shadows. To be one with the shadows. I'm not saying you and yours are evil, but you cannot claim to be good, to do good, unless you make sacrifices that your leaders are unwilling to make, that you would be unwilling to make, faced with the choice. I'm no longer part of that world because I failed, but at least I didn't fail to be compassionate. My weakness was that I cared too much, and that made me blind to our cause.
Alright, so let's do Saeed next. Ooh, lore.
It's rude to stare, is it not? Oh, the expression on your face. I know. You see this desiccated flesh like old tea leaves and cannot comprehend how it's dressed in Milanese silk. Here's the skinny. We of the kingdom were merchant princes once, are now, and always will be. A prince is accustomed to little luxuries, and big ones. Over the rise and fall of civilizations, I've become quite desensitized to tasteful restraint. This afterlife has proved very different to the one that I was expecting. One of the few shortcomings of the dynastic private schooling system. But for a businessman, a deal broker, it is glorious. Infinite potential for profit and so many pleasurable distractions. Legal, illegal, divine, or debauched. It takes all sorts. What I pride myself on is a wealth of experience. Oh, Venice has some nerve. Bringing in an army without going through us first. What are we, dried leather? Everything goes through the kingdom. Everything has its price. That's Cairo rules. This is an antique land, and we are its curators, no one else. The cabals all had their chance, and if they liked it so much, they should have put a rein on it. Look at what happens when too many outside interests get involved. The kingdom's free black market kept Egypt removed from the secret wars. It's almost charitable if you think about it. Yes, this fracas is going to cost. Not us, of course. We'll find a way to turn the country's devastation into a lost leader. Too soon? Well, don't think of me as heartless. It's shriveled to the size of a walnut, but I still have it rattling around in here somewhere. I'm like a jackal shut in a hot car out here. If it's not the sun, it's the beetles. Those voracious little shits are everywhere. I would have greatly preferred to stay in Cairo. We're a hands-off facilitator, for moral reasons or lack thereof, and because there's a je ne sais quoi about us that spooks the locals. If you ask me, we've aged better than some of the Fortune 500 CEOs I've met. And I've met them all. The age of online business has been good for the kingdom. Very good. Now everyone is faceless, not just us, and personal responsibility is an idle dream. Where it belongs. Here I am running accounting on a situation intended to have no accountability. I hope you understand I have the confidentiality of my idiot clients to consider when dealing with you. However, I would dream of stopping you making their lives difficult. Break a leg.
Alright, that's Saeed's dialogue. So the lower half is done. We have these guys and the Orochi camp. I think that's all the NPCs in this area. So we'll do the Oxford camp and then we'll go to Orochi.
Non-homicidal visitors are always welcome. I'm the hot young Turk. He's the stuffy old professor. No, wait a minute. The heat's getting too much.
See how a wit like this is wasted at Oxford. Monty likes to think of himself as a dry old scholar, but you don't learn swordsmanship like that in fencing class.
I did, actually. Though I've had my scrapes with the ramen uncanny, considerably more of them since being paired with Dr. Singh here.
The only way to experience occult history is to go out there and get stuck into it, don't you agree? Dragon, Templars, Illuminati, whatever you are, no offense, you're very hands-on.
Aaron, like you, is of the new breed, the go-getters. I'm afraid I'm a holdover from the past, when the secret world stayed politely secret.
Monty, you know I hate it when you depress yourself.
My boy, we were fusty custodians then. We would deny the truth rather than have it contradict hundreds of years of utterly dreary research.
We were lucky to get funding for this expedition. Egyptology is a sore topic back at Lazarus College.
I have a feeling current events shan't endear us to the funding committee.
It's not just the money involved in paying off the kingdom. It's that the kingdom exists at all. What point is there spending months sifting through the detritus of the 19th dynasty if you can just take them out to a boozer and ask them face to face?
They do love to put us in our place. To recall the mummy Al fired on the Rosetta Stone, an impressive effort, but totally wrong. As sweet as clotted cream, as crushing as a cave-in.
I tell you this much, Monty. If we survive this mess, there's a case to be made for major holes in the kingdom's recollection of history. I knew they were looking shifty, even for walking corpses.
It's true. The dash thing about unspeakable evils is how reticent people are to mention them.
We've been out here on site for a month or so now. It was a nice little retreat until the paramilitary showed up.
Then came the earthquake.
The cult uprising, the ghouls, the giant insects, the sand demons.
The rain of fire, which, even being versed in occult catastrophes, I thought was a bit much.
So we're a little out of touch with global events. Don't tell us, though. I love surprises.
I expect we're in for a trying year. I don't mean to gossip, but there's already been trouble in Oxford. Information wants to be free. Isn't that the charmingly naive saying? Well, the kind of information Lazarus College owns is capable of making its own prison break.
Now they've closed off half the catacombs to stop it leaking out. I heard one grimoire made it as far as the hedge maze.
I shouldn't think it would be anything for you to concern yourself with, though. Oxford hasn't called upon the societies for aid since 1096.
Yes. How much trouble can postgraduate students, homunculi, and books bound in pickled skin be?
The hot young Turk and I have differing opinions on the so-called prophecy. Monument 6 does hint at certain scenarios, but there's no hard evidence of... Well, except for those looted glyphs Aaron claims to have seen in the forests of South America. The inscription apparently completed the Mayan prophecy and clarified the coming of Bolun Yokteku. An absolutely astonishing would-be discovery. But do remind us, Aaron, the reason you weren't able to adequately record or recover this fascinating monument. Mayan zombies, was it?
I would like to see that event come back. I like that event in Secret World, the Mayan event. Okay, so these are all like side missions. So I believe the only dialogue left should be the Orochi camp.
What's up?
What's up?
I'm just a soldier. I'm nobody important, same as my crew. We go where they tell us to go. We follow orders. We shut the fuck up. Don't get me wrong. Working for Orochi's the best job I've ever had. Well, it was. There's nothing best about it now. Thing is, this detail, security for the Prometheus Initiative, always felt vague. Like there was something going on that we weren't privy to. It's not unusual. We're just tin soldiers lined up in a row to protect VIP personnel, but you couldn't help but overhear things. The whispered conversations, the covert messages, the looks they gave us like we were just in the way. Vague isn't the right word. Rotten. It felt rotten. I don't know what to tell you. Orochi isn't a bad place to work. Not at all. The pay is good, the benefits better, the food is spectacular. Of course, down here, we've been working with the Prometheus Initiative. Still Orochi, but not quite. Like one of those bastard familiars going through the motions, pretending to be human. Does that make sense? It makes no sense to me either. I don't know what it is about this assignment, but I had a bad feeling from the start. You folks seem to be okay. I don't have a beef with any of you. Don't get me wrong, but we're not best buds. My guys here, they're the ones I'm responsible for. Their lives are in my hands, so I'm going to do what needs doing to keep them safe. Everyone else in this hellhole can go to, well, hell. I don't trust anyone. I've seen this old guy in rags. Don't trust him. Those Brit archaeologists, don't trust them neither. And no one from the village, that's for sure. Who knows what kind of agenda they have. Better safe than sorry, I say. One of the first things they teach you when you get hired at Orochi is that everything is true. Everything. Ghosts? Check. Vampires? Uh-huh. Zombies? Oh, you betcha. They didn't say anything about mummies, but, you know, mummies. They try to teach you simple magics, the kind that us normals can do without your DNA. None of the fancy stuff. But I never had the knack for it. I can maybe infuse a bullet with some intelligence, get it to go for the brainstem, but that's it. And you know what? Once I found out about the secret world, it made sense. Everything finally made sense. I'm happy with that. Look, I don't care about the clubs that you people belong to, your little all smiles above the table, drawn knives beneath blah blah amateur drama. It really is sort of silly, don't you think? And the way you guys have rules of engagement for your so-called secret war. I don't know. Boys will be boys, and girls, well, they'll do whatever the boys tell them to do, I guess. The YouTube videos are hilarious. We used to watch them in the rec room during lunch back at HQ. And laugh. You ever hear about live-action role-playing? That's you guys, to a T.
That was pretty nice. Alright, so I believe that was the last of dialogue in Blue Mountain. Or, what was all the dialogue in Blue Mountain, and then all the dialogue in Scorched Desert. So, mission accomplished there for a Friday night stream. It's only been like an hour, but I think I'm gonna call it here. Just mostly just doing this stream, A, because I wanted to listen to that stuff, and B, to have it like recorded. So I want to like look anything up, or anyone else wants to reference it at a later date. So those of you that hung out with me, thank you very much. And we'll be doing another first-person stream probably Monday. Although we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll stream like Sunday night or something. But yeah, I'll be ending the stream here, and I'll see if there's anyone I can host. I don't know how many people I have to host with, but you know, never hurts to throw a host somebody's way. Let's see. There's a couple people. Alright, we're gonna host it's Stoic.
It's good.
So if anyone's still here, go say hi.